here. Come on in. How's everybody doing this evening? Well, oof, I've been perspiring today. My dress is still a little damp from today. So anyway, my name is Stacy. I'm a mindset coach, life on life's terms coach. Life's laughing, is it not? Happy Friday, everybody. So tonight we're going to be talking about self-trust, the foundation of self-love. And asking you, can you trust yourself? High five, elements. How are you doing, Bobby? You doing having a good day? You happy it's Friday? Is it Saturday where you are now? Hello. So we're going to talk about self-trust tonight. My darling Kim, I sent you an email, girl. Finally got your email to you. Hello, y'all. How y'all doing this evening? We're going to talk about self-trust and that being the foundation of self-love. Saturday where you are. See, it's Saturday. John London in the house. And I know it's awful late. It's Saturday almost where it's Saturday where John London is too. I saw that. Thank you so much, darling. For those of y'all who don't know, I've got a group. You can subscribe to me on Facebook. We're going to have 2 nights. We're going to have every other week. We're going to have 2 nights for a month of group coaching every other week. So it's going to start on July 9th. Yes, Bobby and Kim. Yes, it's 12 a.m. All right. So that's what Kim's talking about. I appreciate that, Kim. Yes, we're going to build that sub up in our group coaching time, to be able to gather together and get with each other once again on the Zoom. So we get to actually see each other and talk to each other. So it's going to be intimate. So that's what we're going to do. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, you're welcome to. It's just Stacy Renee, or I do have Stacy's Organizing and Decorating for Life, but that's my other just business channel. Anyway. So, John London, what we're going to talk about tonight, yes, the group stuff is so cool because we just are able to connect. And it's really cool when we can see each other, right? You haven't had a Facebook in 10 years? I know, I'm old school. Yeah. So, anyway, well, it would be cool if, we got a Zoom group here. We'll see if someday we can't make that happen here. I've been on Facebook forever. So I am so appreciative of Facebook and the folks on Facebook. They have lifted me up and, when I've had some hard times. So a lot of people say, oh, social media is bad, but I've had a good experience on Facebook. A lot of, uplifting. All right. So we're going to talk about self-trust tonight, and that being the foundation of self-love. Right? Even if it's just doing this group thing, John London, it would be fun. It'll be fun. Now, some people, really, I do know some people because I do work with people with addiction recovery, and some people cannot do Facebook and all of these things because they maybe get too curious. A lot of people tell me I see things I don't like on Facebook, and most time, but it's our algorithm. And that's what I try to do to help y'all on these evenings as a coach and everything is to feed our own algorithm. So I want to thank you all who have subbed here, because you're choosing to feed this algorithm. And this algorithm is not one to divide and separate us and piss us off at other people. Hey Don, how are you? This one I hope is going to be more uplifting. This one isn't talking about all the mayhem in the world because God knows there's some mayhem in the world. And I can watch that other people do it. I watch the comedians, and all of this, and people talk about it, but I'm not trying to buy into a lot of stuff, so I want to stay focused on what I want, not what's going on out there. And that's what I try to help y'all do. So self-trust, the foundation of self-love. So can we trust ourselves? Anybody here have problems trusting yourself or fear trusting yourself? You've never been on a Zoom meeting before, John London? We have a great time on the Zooms. I've done things on Facebook before. I've had different groups and things. And so it's really cool. Viva Mexico! Exactly. Hey, Cool Whip. So, yeah, I am sitting near beautiful Cancun, Mexico. If y'all can't tell, I do have my Texas accent, but I'm sitting here now near beautiful Cancun. So yes, it is the best. We really get to connect on these Zooms. So I really love it. Silence, darling. Okay, I don't think we're on the same page. Before we get started talking about self-trust and that being the foundation of self-love, I'm just going to put out here, like I usually do, we don't talk about politics, religion, my dating statuses, or any of that. That's right, we do feel connected while we're sitting in the same room. We don't talk about anything that would divide us on here because we are all about uplifting each other and just learning and pondering things this evening. As a mindset coach, that's what I help people do, right, Kim? Is I help people ponder. Thank you, Kim. I help people ponder things. We ponder some things. So the short today, if you saw the short, oh, my age, you're exactly right. See, Five Elements knows what's going on. Bobby knows what's up. We don't talk about my age either. Thank you. So those are the things we don't talk about here. We'd like to stay on topic, and I'm going to address your comments as long as you're on topic because I've got notes here so I can see what you're saying. Thank you, John, Landon, and Kim. So I can see what you're saying and then and address that. But if you're not on ponder is what you do on the front porch, well, people do ponder on the front porch, don't they? So anyway, think about, as a mindset coach, I help people think about thoughts they never thought about or things they don't think about, or maybe they do think about but don't know how to process. So that's what we talk about here. And so if we can stay on topic, that would be cool. Kim's in the house and Five Elements is in the house. And so they can moderate these here comments. Hi, Layla. It's good to see you here. So, some people have problems trusting other people, trusting themselves, but yet they'll give their trust away here and trust away here. And this is why we have problems trusting ourselves, is sometimes we've trusted the wrong people. So self-love, self-trust, self-esteem, they're all categorized in the same area. And so this deals with how we feel about ourselves. It all says self. I know, isn't that a pretty name? So we don't second guess our choices, ignore our feelings, or even abandon what we know is right for us. A lot of times I work with people as an addiction recovery coach, people who are working on food addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. And like I said, sometimes even the internet can be an addiction in itself and we could be looking for the negative things on the internet. And this is why a lot of people tell me that I don't like getting on Facebook because I see negative things. Well, I don't see those because I don't feed the algorithm, if that makes sense. Sometimes I do see some. Long live France. Okay. So sometimes I do see some negative things, but I just keep scrolling. So anyway, we're going to get into this now. So we've talked about, just to recap, because I usually pick one topic for the week and then we keep expanding so that we can grow on that topic. So the journey so far, what we've talked about is self-love versus self-sabotage. So recognizing what we have learned is to recognize fear-based choices. What am I doing out of fear? Understanding that where we give our power away, because giving our power away, that means not doing something because we're afraid of what's going to happen there rather than the purpose of why we would do it for ourselves. I mentioned in that time that somebody said that, they didn't want to go to something because they were afraid somebody was going to be there. Thank you, Five Elements. I appreciate that, because somebody was going to be there and they could go to support a person rather than focusing on this other person that's going to be there. Okay, Amanda, this is usually for adults. This isn't really for kids, but you're welcome to stay. I'll try not to cuss. Anyway, and maybe you'll learn something. I wish I could have learned the stuff that I teach at 10 years old, So anyway, so it's about being in alignment. That's your integrity, is not running on your fear-based thoughts and not giving your power away. Thank you, Five Elements. I appreciate that. So we also learned how to distinguish love from fear. What's love? I'm not trying to be mean, darling. I'm just saying that I don't know that this will interest you, but I hope that it does. So we're also talked about on Wednesday the truth about self-love. Healing the voice that hurt you, because we learned also that when we have these voices that tell us we're not enough, telling us that we feel like we're always doing something wrong, or there's something wrong with us. We have this voice in our head telling us that too. Sometimes in looking for the evidence, it's like we're looking at people outside of ourselves to give us this evidence, whether it be positive or negative. We're looking for positive evidence, but when we don't get the reaction or the response that we wanted, it can often turn to a negative, and we're finding evidence. So it's about the evidence that we're looking for, and we're going to talk and dive more deeper into that this evening. So understanding how criticism, blame, shame, and verbal abuse shape your fears. That's something that we get to understand. Thank you for the hearts. Is that you, Kim, or 5 elements? And then learning that healing requires feeling our feelings. That it's okay to cry. It's okay when you feel overwhelmed and frustrated to cry. That's the healthy way to release, rather than come out angry and frustrated and transfer that onto somebody else. So using our imagination and realistic affirmations to move forward into what we want, being able to decide what we want. I'm not doing anything to make you cry, Amanda. I don't feel like I hate it if you're crying, but I'm not doing anything. So doing the next right thing. I'm hoping that what I'm saying might be able to help you. I wish I could have learned this stuff when I was younger. So tonight we're going to be looking at self-trust, the foundation of self-love. So keeping the promises to ourselves, staying loyal to our integrity, and learning that our feelings matter, and gathering evidence that we can trust ourselves. So that's what we're going to be breaking down and looking at this evening. Okay? Alrighty. So here we grow. So I hate that you're sick. So you're learning, we're learning to heal, to recognize the fear, make loving choices, and trust the self. Realize the gifts that are already theirs. So if I were my own best friend, I want you to ask yourself, if I were my own best friend, would I trust me? Do you talk nicely to yourself? Do you be mean to yourself? How do you do this? So we don't want to do that as a judgment, because that's one of our biggest fears, right? Is being judged. That's why we're so concerned about our self-image, is because of judgment. Hello, Milad Zaki. I am good. How are you? So we need to ask ourselves, did I follow through? Do I follow through? Do I honor my feelings? Do I, tell myself the truth? Because sometimes we are making up stories and we don't know if it's the truth or not, based on how somebody behaves. If somebody doesn't recognize us or say hello to us or something, we may decide, oh, they're mad at me, but we haven't done anything wrong. So if we haven't done anything wrong, these are things we need to ask ourselves. If we start making up a story that they're mad at me and we haven't done anything wrong, then they're not mad at you. So being able to understand. We also don't talk about my weight besides my age, race, battle, but you're welcome to be here, and I hope that you'll enjoy this topic. So I don't even know how much I weigh, honestly. So do I stay loyal to my integrity? Am I compromising myself? All right, go to bed then, Max and Maui. Okay, so do I stay loyal to my integrity? Do I do the next right thing? The next right thing. How many of you in here have heard of the next right thing, doing the next right thing? So before every time we build trust with ourselves. When we do these things, we build trust with ourselves. Thank you, P. Jizzy. And trust is earned the same way with ourselves as it is with anyone else. See, that's the thing, is we don't realize that we have to learn to trust ourselves, and then we know who to trust out there, rather than feeling like some of the feelings we may feel that are negative and that we look for evidence of. Because what we're trying to do is we're focusing more on not getting hurt. We're focusing more on some other the negative parts and aspects that hurt us, so that we can strategize and navigate. So we're going to talk about self-trust, the foundation of self-love. So keeping promises to ourselves is the first section that we're looking at. So keeping the promises to ourselves is huge as far as developing our self-esteem. Okay. How many people in here don't keep the promise to yourself? You say, I'm going to do this, but then you do this. And you say, I'm going to do this, and you do this. You may blame yourself for not doing it. You may shit on yourself. You may blame somebody else, you know? So this is, I believe, why many people give up and feel bad about themselves. You know, they feel bad about themselves when they do it. So they want one thing and do another thing, and feel like what they want is unattainable when that happens. Hey, Ramon, it's good to see you. So we may even feel worse when we see others getting or doing what we want. And in our comparison, we'll feel like we're failing because we're focused on what it is that we want. But are we doing what we need to do to get what we want? And sometimes it seems overwhelming, and sometimes it does seem frustrating. But, we talked about on Wednesday, just doing that one thing to help build where you want to grow. Because it's not just, okay. I'm not responding to comments that are not on topic. I'm just going to tell y'all that right now. Okay. So we may even feel worse when we see others, just like I said, getting what we want or doing what we want to do. And then we have a comparison is the thief of joy, but not only is it the thief of joy, it's the thief of your self-esteem, because you're too busy focusing on what other people are doing and not what am I doing. And what you're doing is building self-esteem. Other people can't build your self-esteem. See, so we have to build our own self-esteem. A lot of us didn't learn how. That's all. There's nothing wrong with you. You might have even been taught from an early age there was things wrong with you. I work with clients that, their parents didn't pay attention to, them far as their excelling in school. They even may have made them think that they weren't as smart as some of the other kids in school. I've worked with people that were put on diets at 8 and 11 years old, sent to Weight Watchers. What doesn't that kill ambition? What's that? The comparison kills ambition too. If that's what you're saying, I get it. So, I have one client that's on a weight loss journey, and he has me as a mindset coach. And, he just had me as a mindset coach for a while. But then but before he had a coach for his exercise and diet as well. So he kept me as a mindset coach, but it wasn't in the budget. Thanks, Don. So it wasn't in the budget to have the other guy. The other guy was quite costly with the exercise and diet, and he pushed the man. He was like, he would get on to him if he didn't, do what he was trying to do to get where he wanted to go. He lost 100 pounds, but he still needed to lose 100 more. So, he's like, so he went back anyway, long story short, he went back to have his other coach and me, because he's understanding that the mind and the body are in relationship. A lot of us in our self-sabotage forget about our body, and that's usually what we tend to sabotage is our body when our mind is overthinking. So we stuff feelings, we stuff our feelings, we stuff things sometimes. And so how do we stop that? We have to start with the mind, and so sometimes it's putting alcohol, drugs, shopping, those things just to escape the feelings. Thank you, Inceldusa Gaming. You're right, Cool Whip. A lot of people do need therapy without realizing the cause. And see, this is the thing. This is why I don't suggest, we might have had childhood trauma growing up, but I don't suggest blaming our parents, because in those days, some of our parents, unless our parents were born in the 90s or what have you, but in those days, my parents did not have access to a computer. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have Google. They didn't have all of that. And so they would have known to go into the library and to ask for these things. And some of the terms that we use today weren't even terms back in those days, like codependency is something that I work with people on. And that wasn't even a thing until the 70s and 80s, when Betty Ford opened the Betty Ford Clinic. And then they had Melody Beattie's literature in there, because Melody Beattie talked a lot about codependence, because she was in addiction recovery. And then she understood the codependence, and then also the grief. So those are things that I specialize in because that's what I understand too. So that I specialize in. So it's like, so the other coach wasn't as nice as me with this man that I coach, and so he, but he needed support and he needed to be accountable. He needed to be accountable to that person because he could, with the mindset help, it helped him to understand what he was thinking, how he was feeling, and where he wanted to go. But he also needed that reinforcement to, somebody that his coach is another man. So he also needed that other person to encourage him a little bit more forcefully, and that was on top of the diet part of it to make him eat what he needed to eat to get where he wanted to be. He had to be accountable for that. So accountability helps a great deal with this. So he needs support and he needs to be accountable. So he's investing in himself instead of investing in self-sabotage. Because if you're doing self-sabotage, you're investing. If you're shopping addiction, you're investing in shopping addiction. If you're in any other of the other addictions, you're investing in it. Whether you know it or not, you're investing in it. So he's choosing to invest in a way where he gets to learn and understand himself rather than bury himself, because that's what's going to happen if he doesn't invest in himself. That's what happens when we don't invest in ourselves, is that we will end up burying ourselves. Hey, BC, I'm good. How are you? But yes, Cool Whip. A lot of people they just didn't know what to ask for in therapy because we didn't know as much as we know today about the transference of anger, the transference of guilt, the transference of all these things through transgenerational trauma. We didn't know a lot of this back in the day, and our parents didn't know either. It's great to see you too. Thank you. Hard Rock, long time no see. It's so good to see you this evening. I don't know if John London's still here. Kim's here. Ramon's here. And Don's here. So Grinch is making a lot of noise back there. So he's learning discipline with his body, but he's building mental muscles and emotional stamina with working with me. This client is, so he's going for what he wants and investing in himself and his health in this way, or he would eventually not have the choice to invest how he wants. He has the choice now to invest how he wants. But if we end up with poor health, we end up with, a lot of things going on with us. So he has accountability and he has encouragement. And that is important to be able to keep the promises to ourselves, is to be accountable. So I have not achieved my accomplishments alone either. I had somebody to be accountable to. I still am accountable to people. So people know me and I'm not afraid of them knowing me. See, when we isolate, people don't get to know us. But when we let people know us, that is breaking this cycle and breaking this pattern, and that we get less and less afraid of that judgment, that I talked about earlier. So I know for me, the great progress made inspires others to be great. Yes, it does. It does, John London. Thank you. It does. So writing things down. When people work with me, I encourage them to write things down. It helps. My clients, often take notes, and we're building our map by doing that. Building a map. Writing things down helps us to build the map because all of this is taking focus. The focus needs to be on you, and we're going to eventually get to that part in this evening. Another thing that my client says that I work with that has me and the other health coach is that he says every day can be Monday, because sometimes we make mistakes. I talked last week about making amends. Sometimes that amends needs to be to ourselves, to be gentle with ourselves. We can make a mistake. We could fall off the so-called wagon, whether it be the diet, whether it be the alcohol, whether it be this. It can't be for me because no one needs to see that. But whatever people are trying not to do, and when we're focusing so hard on not to do it, maybe the craving's even worse. So this is why I say we need to focus on what we want rather than focus on that. And I talked the other evening about setting attainable mantras, attainable affirmations, not the ones that if you're, looking at a negative in your bank account that you're sitting here saying, I am rich. You're sitting here saying, I'm figuring out every day how to put more money in my account. I am figuring it out every day, not focusing on I don't have money. I am figuring out every day how to put money in my account. I'm seeing money's going to come to me. I know it's going to come to me, and I'm focused on making that money, because then you're going to do what it takes to make the money. It's not like so these are attainable goals. Because if you tell yourself when you're looking at negative in your account, and you're saying, I'm rich. And I know that it's more than just money, but I'm talking about financial issues right now. So then you're going to be like, I'm lying to myself. And lying, we're talking about integrity next, staying loyal to our integrity. So this is about not lying to ourselves. Hello, JR. It's good to see you. So when we're staying loyal to our integrity, we're not lying to ourselves. We're not trying to make a story up. We're going to catch ourselves before we go down this rabbit hole of making a story up. Using our creativity for good. If we're going to make a story up about a positive affirmation for us, for ourselves, that can help us to propel forward, to achieving what we want to achieve, rather than just staying focused on the don't want. What do I want? And then saying, I am doing this, the baby steps, not the, because it's not going to, those will like make us think we're lying to ourselves, and we're going to think other people lied to us, because everything's a reflection and projection. So stay loyal to our integrity. That's the second one today, in building self-trust. Is that means that remembering your wins, and that makes you feel good about yourself. When you focus more on your wins than your losses. So when you know what makes you feel good about yourself and what makes you feel bad about yourself, with your physical health included. If you feel bad after a night of binging on food, drink, or any other excess, you may not communicate as well as you would, or feel like honoring your commitments, right? Because I work with people that if they get into the binging, the next day, they're not really feeling like they're fulfilling their integrity. Feel sluggish. They feel like they can't, do what they intended to do. And so making sure our intentions, Grinch, Lord have mercy. So, the excess, Grinch, I guess, Grinch is sure carrying on, isn't he? All right. So saying what you mean and meaning what you say without being mean when you say it is one way also to stay loyal to your integrity. Now, this means we're going to put aside people pleasing, because that's up next, saying what we mean, meaning what we say, and not being mean when we say it. So what this means is then people are going to say that you're walking the walk and talking the talk when you stay loyal to your integrity. That's what it means. You're going to have that kind of reputation, junk food and sugar. So what could you do, Don, to avoid junk food and sugar? I know that my daughter, I was just talking to one of my friends the other day, and my poor daughter thought she was deprived growing up because I didn't keep junk food and sugar in the house. She would say, I didn't have anything to eat. And it's like, well, yeah, she did have things to eat. She just didn't have sodas, and she didn't have chips, and she didn't have these kind of things, but she had leftover food and things to eat in the house, or things she could make, but she didn't have anything in a bag. So I try not to eat things out of the bag. Every once in a while, I'm not perfect either, but I try not to. So when you go to the store, not buying that. But I know sugar's hard. Sugar's a hard one for me, and I make tea, and I put monk fruit in my tea to not have so much sugar. So there's things that we can use, too, that might be healthier for us. I put honey in my coffee. Junk food, I cook my food. I cook most of my food. I don't go out much for food because it's not healthy. We don't know what they're putting in that food, and it's a lot of salt and a lot of sugar a lot of times, because it drives an addiction. So saying what you mean and meaning what you say, and not being mean when you say it, that helps you to live within your integrity. So then you do what you say you're going to do. When I say I'm going to do something, people know that I'm going to do it. I'm not going to flake, because I won't say that I'm going to do it if I don't want to do it. And I'm okay with saying I don't want to do it. And it doesn't mean that I don't like somebody. It means I don't want to do it. That's all. Thank you, Lotto. So being a person, that's what they say about, is walking the walk and talking the talk. So also learning how to have boundaries with yourself and not people please. Because a lot of times when we people please, we will think that when people are doing stuff for us, that they're just doing it out of obligation because that's what we're doing, right? So that's what happens. Rodolfo, you don't know who cooked restaurant food and whether they washed properly. Well, that's true too. That's true too. I'm working, I think that most people, I like to think that most of them have good hygiene. Although, I have had that restaurant back in Texas. We would have that restaurant where you had to go get the hepatitis shot, right? Because I've had a hepatitis shot before from somebody food service. So anyway, there's that also. But it's healthier if we cook it ourselves. Then we know. I don't eat fried food very much. Every once in a while, but not very much. I may eat fried food twice a year. So people will know that when you're showing up for yourself or anyone else, it's because you want to, and they appreciate that if you don't people please. You have boundaries with yourself not to people please. I don't think I have tried the cure. I'm not sure though, 5 elements. I'm not sure. I might have, because one of the things you suggested I have had, but sometimes I don't know what it's called because I eat all kinds of food. I mean, I do eat Indian food. I've gone to eat Indian food when I've eaten out and stuff. So I eat Vietnamese food, Indian food, saffron milk. Yes, I have had saffron. One of my best friends is Persian, and so a lot of saffron. Then people will know that when you're showing up for yourself or anyone else, it's because you want to, and they appreciate that. Do y'all know? Can y'all tell when people are showing up out of obligation or when they're showing up because they're excited they want to do this? Let's do this. I got to meet Kim at an event, and she knew that I was happy just to be there to meet her and some of the other people that were at this event. There's a part of me that didn't want to go to the event, but I wanted to meet the people that I had become accustomed to there at the event. So I went and I honored myself and other people. That's right. That's right. Rodolfo, don't let our stomach be a graveyard. So learning that our feelings matter. This is important for you to build self-trust. Learning that your feelings matter. Because look, if they're getting hurt, body language, yes, John London, it is. I always tell people that your words are, expressions of your thoughts, and your body language is expressions of your feelings. So when you look at intentions and motivations, the intention comes from our thoughts. What is the intention that I have? And then the motivation comes from our feelings, because usually if we've done any of the other things, like I said, binging, what do? We say, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. So we don't do the things. And the body language is a dead giveaway. When I taught karate to those kids, the martial arts, and we did the breathing, it's like, look how smart. You look like you're paying attention when you're breathing. When we're overwhelmed, you're right, John London, the body language looks like this, doesn't it? When we're not feeling good about ourselves or anyone else, the body language is like, but when we're feeling good about ourselves and everyone else, we're more open, and that's with the breath also, as our chest opens up. If we're fully breathing, our shoulders, come back up, and we look like we're paying attention. 5 elements, infinity. I love to cook, but I'm always thinking about post-cooking, the cleaning the dishes, the next level. Yeah, I hear you. Well, it'll be all right. So learning that our feelings matter. I know for myself, when I did people please and consider others before myself, I oftentimes felt like a robot. Anybody here felt like a robot? Like we're just mechanical. It's just like, I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do that. When I just felt responsible and obligated for everything else and didn't really consider myself, I felt like a robot. I would just keep going and going and going. And my people pleasing and stuff. Yes, robotic. Absolutely. So the thing was I wasn't really showing up for myself, and others can tell when we don't consider ourselves, right? In the body language, like John London said, is we'll look like we're just carrying the heavy load in our body language. So we teach, you know, I really wasn't sure. So, and others. So when we don't consider ourselves, we teach others that our feelings don't matter when we don't consider our feelings. Well, and then we get mad because others don't. But we must consider our feelings because it does come out in the body language. It comes out in your words, your intentions and motivations. And when you're intending and motivating just to people please, then people know that you're not going to feel accepted until you get a compliment. But when you do get a compliment, a lot of times if we don't love ourselves, we won't even be willing to accept a compliment. We'll think they're just doing it because we threw ourselves out on the chopping block for them, right? Or whatever, we just overextended ourselves, and it's just like, okay, they're just telling. I have had people that I know are good people that told me that they didn't believe when they got a compliment, even though they tried and they tried and they tried to do things, and they get the compliment and they still don't believe that it's a compliment. So when we learn to consider ourselves, we learn to compliment ourselves and count our wins. Y'all know, because I talk about wins, and that's coming up next, is that we will believe the compliments because we will, know that we've expressed ourselves. But we have to consider ourselves to express ourselves, to be able to express those words, to be able to express the feelings. So we teach people sometimes that our feelings don't matter if we don't consider ourselves. We're so extended at times that we're not even present, and people can tell. And the reality is that when we're not showing up for ourselves and won't perceive that others do either, that they don't think that we're enough either, because we don't think we're doing enough when we're continue extending ourselves and not considering ourselves. So we're given that a baseline. We need to consider ourselves. I need to consider myself. You need to consider yourself to truly understand the gift that you are. And then you'll truly understand the value that you and others carry instead of just carrying everyone. You can consider yourself. Consider yourself. And then gathering evidence that we can trust ourselves. This is how we're developing self-love. Because we're gathering evidence whether we realize it or not. We're gathering evidence. If y'all know me, I get on here on Wednesdays and I say it's Wednesday, Winsday. And actually, when we understand what these words mean, and we can understand more the value of words, it's like Wednesday was the day itself was created by this Celtic god Odin. And, it's really about what we're it's about manifestation. It's about realizing things. One of y'all can look it up, but looking these things up, y'all know I love to look these things up and figure out, why is this like this? Why is that like that? Rather than about people that are outside of me that I can't get in their heads, I want to know the origins of why things work the way that they work so that I can continue to grow by that rather than by somebody else's. So Wednesdays is, when we're being robots, we don't count our wins. The thing is that I didn't get where I am by not overcoming things. And when we overcome things and we count that, we can develop an esteem. So when we develop that esteem about what we do, not what we do for somebody else, self-esteem is your self-esteem. What did you do? So it's about counting your wins. Wins, because so many of us are, being like robots and continue to hit repeat and repeat on the past pains and mistakes and the past evidence of what you've been through without taking into account that you got past it. You got past it. And so we keep going back to that. And we even have trained our bodies, again, back to the body language, our nervous system. We've trained our nervous system to hope for the best, but expect the worst. And even when we get the best, we're still waiting for the other shoe to fall, right? I know that me and my clients aren't the only ones. I don't do that now, but I used to do that. We can only think for ourselves. God help me. I solo travel a lot. I hear you, road man. Yes. We have to think for ourselves. We really do. And we have to focus. And so it's about what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on the past, those past evidences of this not working out and that not working out and not moving forward? You know, or are we going to move forward and focus on what we do want? What we do want? What do I want? You know, and it doesn't mean that it's selfish. A lot of people were taught that that was selfish, but really it's selfish when you don't, when you like don't think about yourself and then you get mad because other people aren't considering you, because we are mirroring back. So it's not just selfish, because when we think of ourselves, we're going to be rested. And then when somebody asks us to do something, then we're going to be able to joyfully do it, to be like, yeah, let's do this. You know, that's the way I am with my friends now. You love meeting people. Traveling helped you so much. I know I travel by myself a lot too. Well, when I travel by myself. And I don't get to meet as many people now that people have cell phones. I used to get to meet people when they didn't have cell phones, but I sit in the airport, people watching, because nobody's talking, because, well, most of the time people are with other people. There's that. And then other times, I did have a man come up to me a few years ago in the airport and just start talking to me. And he wasn't trying to pick me up or anything. He was just talking. But, you know, that used to happen a lot in the airports before cell phones. But now with cell phones, I watch people, and I think that the posture is even going to change in watching people, because I'll notice people just walking all like this all the time. Their backs over, speaking of body language, John London, their backs hunched over and they're doing this, you know, looking at their phone and stuff. That's what I notice in the airport these days. So back to the notes. You go on a cruise every month? That's cool. I've not been on a cruise, and those ships are big and intimidating. You're right, Don. You cannot pour from an empty cup. We have to rest so that we can be in our right mind and breathing. See, when we're all overwhelmed, when we're just saying yes to everybody, thank you, Five Elements. When we're saying yes to everybody, we're so tired, you know, and we're exhausted. We're not breathing fully. We're not in our right and divine mind. So our expressions aren't coming out like we want them to come out. Live, love, dream, searching for answers, but find it hard to be specific on what I need. Have you struggled with being clear, simply stated on what exactly you're requesting? I have in the past struggled with that, and I had to realize, what do I like? You know, I don't know if you're single, but if you're single, what I've encouraged people to do is to take themselves out on dates. Take yourself to eat. Take yourself to see a movie. Take yourself. Don't wait for people to take you out on dates. If I want to buy myself flowers, I buy myself some flowers. You know, society is losing that social aspect of talking to strangers, why there's the loneliness problem. You're right, John London. Yeah, people don't talk as much as they used to, you know, like not in public like that. And yeah, and so many people are looking to be offended in a lot of places, you know, is that they look to be offended. They're ready to. So yeah, it's funny. I don't get to meet as many strangers as I used to. I think living in another country and I have to learn another language, you know, that it makes me really be more thoughtful about my words. I don't pick my neighbor's flowers. That's not very nice. All right, Roadman, I agree. Sometimes I take myself out to a very nice, yeah, because then, see, this is what happens when we learn that we teach people how to treat us. And I had to learn that I taught people how to treat me. Everyone has their heads in the phone. Yes, they do. And so when you start seeing somebody, if you do go out with friends or you have a date or whatever, and you start seeing somebody and they say, well, what do you want to do? And you're like, I don't know. What do you want to do? And then they're like, okay, so then you don't know what you want to do. So they pick what they want to do. And so then when you do what they want to do, like 6 months down the road, you may be like, we always do what you want to do. But you never stated what you wanted to do. And then when you think about it, because most of the time when you say we always do what you want to do, maybe you didn't even know what you wanted to do. So take yourself. Don't wait for people. Take yourself. And if you are in a partnership, what I suggested is getting this date book where you can write down the things that you want to do. And then you can go back to that, write each other little notes in there, things like this. Because so many people do get lost in communication. Roadman, other countries treat people so much nicer than America. America just talks about them and don't even know what they're talking about. That's true. When I first moved down here, everyone would always be like, be safe down there. Be safe, Stacy. And it's not unsafe. It's like there are policemen with these big guns, and you should see these guys. They have on, I don't know how they don't like fall out over here, because they have on full clothes and everything. The police over here, there's sometimes y'all been on here, they'll be like, you can see the lights when they go by my house. They drive and they're always around. Police and cartel, as long as I don't borrow any money or do drugs, the cartel doesn't care about me. They're not shooting people. I've not seen one person get shot. Now, I've heard of people getting shot, but that goes on all the time in America. I'm from Texas. That happens in road rage in Texas in the heat. So it's no more scarier here. There's always that neighborhood all over the world that you don't want to go in alone, or after dark, all over the world. So is Texas for Mexico? I don't know. Texas kind of, I don't know. So back to the notes. So we're talking about Viola. Yes, thank you, Viola. I'm glad you made it this evening. So we have Wednesdays so that we can remember at least one day of the week to win, to consider our wins. If you don't do it any other day of the week, I encourage you to sit down on Wednesdays and say, what have I done that was good this week? What have I done for me? What have I done that was in my integrity? Not to brag about it. Oh, you've been listening? Okay, good. Not to brag about it, because I had to learn to do things without telling people, learn to do nice things without telling people the nice things that I do, because I'm not doing it for other people. I'm doing it when I do things in my integrity. I'm doing it because I want to do it, So, okay. I don't know about you. Anyway, so many people, like we talked about the robots. So we don't want to hit P and repeat. Gathering evidence, live, love, dreams. I avoid over communicating, fearing they might take it as disrespect, actually trying to, in a polite way, to make a point, avoiding the stress. Stop it. The stress my mind creates of a situation that hasn't happened. Now that's the part that's not talking too much is okay, but the situation that hasn't happened, that's where we waste a lot of our time. And I used to do it too. Live, love, dreams. I used to do that too. That's what I call anticipating and strategizing. I couldn't be fully present when I was anticipating and strategizing what they're going to say, what would I say, and then when they say this and I say this, and then I don't know, live, love, dreams. Do you walk away from the conversations? Because should and shame are so close together. And I would walk away from those. That's why I have notes here tonight. That's why I have notes all the time, because even in public speaking, I have to have notes, because I don't want to go sit down and be like, oh, I wanted to say this, or I wanted to say that, or, the first thing I learned in therapy was not to should on myself. But I used to do it all the time, or else my therapist wouldn't have told me not to should on myself. So I relate. I used to do it all the time, to think I should have said this, I should have said that, because I didn't know what to say, because I wasn't present and I wasn't breathing. When I'm anticipating and strategizing, I'm not breathing like I would be. I know we're all breathing, but if we check ourselves, we can be like holding on to everybody else's word, and that we're not even thinking and processing what they're saying, actually, because we're trying to process, what am I saying back? Or, does that make sense? So being present is the best gift that we can give people. Then we'll learn to get confident in what we're saying back. But we need to listen to ourselves. See, this is the thing. That's what I'm talking about, is trusting ourselves. And so when we listen to ourselves, and not to be critical of ourselves, but listen to, what am I saying? And then, why did I say this? Is it something learned? A lot of the things we say is learned language, and it might not be for our betterment. Roadman, I go to Mexico a lot, and one thing, they might hurt each other, but they will never touch a tourist because of the consequences. Absolutely. Right, Roadman. I'm down here near beautiful Cancun. A lot of tourists down here, and they've really helped me a lot, and it's very, very nice. I'm not afraid down here. Jonathan, yes. Jim C. Leo Lee. I don't know. I don't know what you've done this week, Leo Lee. Have you done something that was nice, for yourself, and then been present for others? Roadman, I listen to people and learn real fast if I'm going to waste my time or not. Yes, because when we get to know ourselves, we know what draws us to a person or what we don't relate to. And it doesn't mean that we're judging anybody. See, then we aren't afraid of being judged when we quit judging people, or afraid we're going to get judged. Because a lot of us maybe don't judge people, but if you're afraid of being judged, and you may think that people are judging you if you're afraid of being judged. Okay, Don, and then Live Love Dreams makes perfect sense. Stay in the moment, even for the thin skin. Yes, Roadman. Over time, we do get better. We're always a work in progress. See, we're just learning to return to who we were when we were born, and we had all this confidence and inhibition and esteem. We didn't worry about self-esteem. We didn't worry about trusting ourselves. As little kids, we just did what we wanted to do most of the time. Then we had to learn safety, but sometimes we've learned to be too safe, to where we don't expand our experiences. I'm not talking about drugs and hallucinogenics. I'm talking about expanding our experiences by expanding our words, and our words will express our body language. Our words will, how we express ourselves. The words are expressions of your thoughts, and your feelings are expressions of your body language. Leo Lee. You're doing things you shouldn't be doing. Well, shoulding on yourself will cause shame. That's what I had to learn, is that don't say I shoulda, woulda, coulda. Just do it, and sometimes we need to write it down for us to have that discipline with ourselves. Is sometimes I have to write down, okay, I'm doing this. I have a calendar. I have a paper calendar here, so I know what's going on. And then I also, will write things down sometimes to reinforce things. You're not doing things that's good. Okay, well, how many, are you going back into the past? It's weird, after a while you attract people without doing nothing. That's right, Roadman. Is a lot of times we're afraid to be ourselves because we're afraid, that people won't like us. But the real deal is that when I started setting boundaries with people, a lot of people don't like to set boundaries, and I didn't either at first. But boundaries aren't rules. There aren't ultimatums. They're not lines in the sand. It's just loving boundaries. Say, this is what this is what I like and don't like. And that was another part of not being able to consider ourselves, right? Is to be okay to say, I don't like that. If somebody asked me to go scuba diving, I'm like, I'm or snorkeling. I'm like, no, I'm not going snorkeling. I don't like snorkeling down here. I don't like snorkeling anywhere because I almost drowned when I was 6 years old. And so I still don't want to put my face in the water for a very long time. I'm not afraid of getting in the water, but I just don't like it. So anyway. Oh, you haven't been exercising. Well, I haven't been exercising every day either. Some days I'd get it just fine. I did today, though. I walked all the way from the beach to this side in a dress. I walked the beach first, and then I walked all the way from the beach. I live in the town part, to the town, then came home, took the dress off, put on my shorts and t-shirt, and then walked to get my eggs. Because that's what we do over here, is I go to the egg getting place to get my eggs, and I go, different places. So I walked a lot today. Okay. Me too, JR. What was you too? Did you walk a lot today too? All right. So we're talking about, back to the gathering evidence so that we trust ourselves, is that we don't want to hit repeat and repeat and staying in the past with the past evidence of why this isn't going to work, having a problem for every solution, you know, is that's returning to our childlike self is something that I like to do. And so with that, that's that curiosity with the childlike self and wondering what will happen instead of staying in fear of trying to anticipate what's going to happen. Hello, Angela. It's good to see you. You are late to the party, but I'm still yapping. So I'm glad that you're here. So we're talking about self-trust and how we're building that. And right now I'm in this section talking about gathering evidence so that we can trust ourselves. Okay, so we're not gathering past evidence of what we, instead of what we've been through without taking into account that you got past it. You got past it. So it's about getting past it. So when we don't gather the evidence and the exuberance of getting past it, we won't value our experience. So if you want to create value in yourself and value these experiences, because if we're anticipating the other shoe falling, okay, bye 5 elements. You have a great day today. It's Saturday for 5 elements. So have a great day. Muhammad, we trust ourselves when we have clarity. Exactly. Thank you so much, 5 elements. I appreciate that. We'll see y'all Sunday. All right. So if you don't gather evidence and exuberance of getting past it, you won't value your life experience and will think that it's your lot in life and will focus on that. You think sometimes we will get stuck, live, love, dream. Sometimes we can get stuck thinking that this is our lot in life, that this is just the way that it is. We have to get that curiosity back. That's part of returning to our childlike self. I don't talk to people about becoming somebody else, about becoming you. Because you already are you. You've become other people to accommodate others. So we want to return to ourself. That's what we want, is to be ourself. Because as was said, when we're ourself by the roadman, when we're ourself, that attracts people to us. Oddly enough, it does. When we set boundaries, people respect you. Because if you don't make your yeses means, you got to get comfortable with saying no for your yeses to mean anything. Hey, Grinchy. So we only need to keep bringing up the past to heal, not to reinforce the pain and the negative feelings. And that's not productive. And repeat won't stop until we begin noticing different evidence. Life on life's terms has challenges, but it has victories too. So a lot of people won't even enjoy their victories because they're waiting on that other shoe to fall. See, because they're still anticipating and strategizing when it happens. So that's an expectation. So we've got to get clear about not having these expectations and heal the pain of what those expectations cause so that we can move forward in curiosity and let's see what's going to happen. Let's see what will happen. If I want this, I have to do this, and let's see what happens. And it's just one little thing at a time. I want to move to Spain, so having my passport is very important. I'm also wanting to take a test to get my Mexican citizenship, because then when I move to Spain in 2 years, I can get my European citizenship. Why not be a citizen in 3 places? Why? Why not? So, Roadman, I was always successful with my own decisions. I went through a hard time, and my best friend kept reminding me I can only think for myself. And it took a while but now it's great because I kept, Angela, you lose trust in yourself when narcissistic parents make you depend on them for everything. That's true, too. There's difference in parenting when a parent is a rescuer all the time. And sometimes that comes with a narcissistic parent. But I know one time with my daughter and I, when I split up from my ex, is that, he would fix everything, but he would chastise you for being, well, I can't believe you did this, or why'd you do this? Now, it depended on his mood, of course, but a lot of times, it would be like he would get all huffy that he had to do something. And she dropped a penny in the toilet one time or something in the toilet, and I think it was a penny. And she's like, Mommy, I dropped a penny in the toilet. I'm like, well, honey, just get it out. And she says, but I pee-peed in there and I didn't flush it yet. And I'm like, okay, there's gloves under the kitchen cabinet. Just go get a glove on and get it out and then flush the toilet. And she's like, oh, because she was used to it. Flying Brian, it's good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad that you can make it. Angela's here, Flying Brian, John London. Of course, Kim and Ramon are here, and Dawn's here. So thank you. Leo Lee, love the fact people have done something and had victories. Living with defeat and alone was changing your mindset, Leo Lee. Roadman's here. Live Love Dreams is here. Feels like I'm underachieving daily when therapist encourages me for accomplishments. It doesn't register. I always feel like there's so much more to act on, and that time is of this. So that sounds like your central nervous system, Live Love Dreams. I hope you'll stay with us and do the breathing with us again, because I didn't understand that too, and I did that. And a lot of times it happens in traffic. It happens in lines at stores. Look, y'all, if y'all come down to Mexico and get in the line at the store, you better plan on waiting a while, because it ain't like it is in America where everything comes to you instantly like that. You learn to have patience down here. You be in the Chedraui, and there's going to be some lines, and you're going to wait a while. You have time to check your messages on your social media and your messages and your text messages. You have time. So I understand that Live, Love, Dreams. It sounds like your central nervous system, because a lot of times there feels like there's an urgency when we grew up, like Angela was saying, with narcissistic parents or with parents that had these expectations. And, if you're always trying to measure up, you're always going to be going faster because you just want to get through it. You're just trying to get through stuff. So when we're just trying to get through stuff, we're just trying to get through it. And sometimes our central nervous system is taught to just keep doing. And that's who we decide that we are. That's our self-image that we have, is that we're doing. And we're achieving. We want to get things done, but we don't have time to relish in the achievement, is what I'm trying to say. To relish, to bask in the glory of that achievement, because you are achieving things. It's just that not taking the time to enjoy that achievement. That's what Wednesday is about, when we take that minute and write that down. What did I do this week? What is getting me to where I want to be? How am I moving forward? Because you're doing great things. I know that you are. Flying Brian. Trust is like broken glass. It can be fixed, but it'll never be the same. Exactly, Flying Brian. You're exactly right. So, when we verbally abuse ourselves or we verbally abuse someone else, it's like what you're saying with the broken glass. Also, I like to talk about when, they talked about the board, when you put a nail in the board and then you can pull the nail out, but there's still a hole in there. And this is what happens when we verbally abuse somebody else or we verbally abuse ourselves. A lot of times when we were verbally abused, and we may not have known what verbal abuse was. I didn't until I was in therapy. She's like, one of the first things, besides telling me not to shit on myself and telling me to breathe, was she told me to look at verbal abuse on the computer, because I'd been verbally abused and didn't even know, so I expected people to talk to me a certain way based on that verbal abuse. So you're right, Blind Brian. Mama. Well, it's all right, Mama. Hello. Y'all, Mama's in the house, so I can't be talking. No, I'm kidding. Mom backs me up all the time. Mom's my biggest fan. The cruise line wants you to go to Europe for 2 months, so they're good. That's very cool. Very cool. Roadman. I want to go to Europe. I've been to Spain like last year, but my best friend's in Spain. Flying Brian, set a few small goals for exactly, Flying Brian. That's what I was talking about the other day, is just, doing that one thing, the next right thing, and staying where your hands are when you do it. It's not about trying to, race to that goal. Enjoying it, because this is how we get to do that practice and development that somebody brought up the other week, is that practice and development is that it's not going to just happen like that. It didn't happen for Michael Jordan. It didn't happen for many of our athletes. It didn't happen for a lot of different people. And even with the speaking, I started off speaking in meetings for 3 to 5 minutes. And then it grew to where I spoke for 15 minutes to 45 minutes. And then now I'm speaking on here. I don't mind speaking now. But there was a time when I didn't know, couldn't speak like that. So you're right, Flying Brian. And I didn't even set the goals. I just started doing it. that curiosity. Leo Lee, I was told from a young age that I was useless and would be better off if I just left. That's verbal abuse. That's not very nice, Leo Lee. And so you have to retrain your mind. It's retraining your mind. Thank you, JR. It's retraining, telling yourself something else. Tell yourself, I am useful. I am useful. So I don't know what you do, because I imagine that you try to prove that you're not useless, but you'll still feel defeated if you're just trying to prove you're not useless. See, so I used to do that. I used to like try to prove that I wasn't selfish and would give stuff away, but I wasn't giving from a great, and when I'm talking about our intention and motivation. So y'all see the police lights now. See, I'm safe. I can tell you these dudes have these full uniforms on. It's hot out there. It's hot out there. They got these full uniforms on. Sometimes they got the face, but and then they got these big guns. They got guns like big guns. So yeah, no one's acting up over here. So yeah, changing your mental dialogue, Leo Lee, because looking up verbal abuse and understanding that you get to decide who you are. You're useful. There's always something on the other side. There's a negative and a positive, and it sounds like you got fed a lot of negative, but there's always a positive on the other side, and we don't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know how to get to the positive side. It took coaching for a long time for me to be able to love myself and appreciate myself. So that's what we're talking about, is self-love to self-trust. And I trust myself now. And trusting myself, I trust my decisions on who I'm going to trust outside of myself. There's some people very trustworthy. I've got some very trustworthy friends. And then there's some people that are just acquaintances. And it's not that it's just that they don't trust other people. And so I walked with somebody this morning and they said some terrible things to their family. And I said, "You said that?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, well, I think they just want to be seen." And I try not to coach my friends, and I'm like, I think they just want to be, but sometimes so I don't like it when people talk ugly to other people. Thank you, JR. And Angela, when you live with narcissists, you don't enjoy the process of doing things. No, because you're never going to do enough, right, Angela? When you live with narcissists, you can never do enough. And then we sometimes get that imprint in ourselves, I'm not enough, because I can never do enough, because you're never going to do it right totally. They're never going to totally be happy. So we have to do things for ourselves. And you have to learn that when you live with a narcissist, to do it for yourself. And you have to learn to, when you're working and walking around a narcissist, to say, I have no thoughts and opinions on this, because they're going to try to dig you in, reel you in to gain power over you. So in Level Up Dreams, so much is happening with uncertainty. They say trust the process, keep pushing, but Phyllis, yep, I'm going to say trust the process too, darling, but it's about learning the process, developing a process, because the process isn't just happening. It's about navigating the process and writing down, that one thing that you want to do today. You only have to do one thing today. I don't know what your goals are, but that one thing today that's going to get you where you want to be tomorrow. And then the next day you'll do another one thing. So it's not overwhelming. So this is why a lot of people give up on their goals, because it just seems so overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's just doing that one thing, trusting the process. So it's about focusing on what you want in this uncertainty. And I know about the uncertainty, as we're always in uncertain times. That's why it's not a destination, right, Roadman? It's not a destination. It's part of an adventure. That's what I like to call it. I don't even call it a journey, but I call it an adventure, because it's about getting comfortable with that uncertainty, developing a relationship with our fears, so that we can develop a relationship instead of shoving our fears aside or living in our fears, because we're, either running to or from something, sometimes. When we quit running and we slow down, and develop a relationship with my fears. Okay, this is what I'm afraid of. I have healthy fears and I have unhealthy fears. Healthy fear for me would be drinking. But I have the unhealthy fears are if I just get stuck in saying, well, I'm afraid of, maybe stepping on a stage. That would be an unhealthy fear. Or I'm afraid of, I can't think of an unhealthy fear that I have right now, but I'm sure I got them. I get to learn more and more. So trust in the process, just trust it a little bit. That's how you'll learn to trust yourself, is trust in that process. I did not take a communication class, JR. I had to learn myself. I've got some very amazing friends and I got support. And I get to learn to trust myself through my friends and my support because they love me anyway. And so they taught me that that they're going to love me anyway, being myself. You're not useless, Leo Lee. You just got to take charge of your own self, your own mind, flying bright. If you're a giver, set your limits because the takers don't have any. That's right. We teach people how to treat us. And if we don't get comfortable with our no's, then our yeses won't mean anything. They'll run right over you. Hi, Branya. How are you doing this evening, darling? Angela, are you wearing a dress, Stacy? It looks beautiful. I am wearing a dress, Angela. I was just telling people earlier that I walked all the way. I walked the beach with my friend earlier today. She was talking crazy. Anyway, I walked the beach with her, and then I walked all the way from the beach side over here. I live in what they call the Colonia, the town side. So I went from port side to town side. I walked over, took this sweaty dress off, and then put on my shorts and t-shirt, and then walked and picked up my eggs. So I have gotten my exercise today. Walked and went and picked up my eggs and then came back home. Yeah, it's been a good day. I feel good though for doing that walking. As there was times when I thought, if I had 20 pesos, I would take the collectivo, but I'd only had big dollars and they like you to have correct change. So I just walked and I felt better walking than I would have felt taking the collectivo. I knew I could do it. I could make up excuses. Oh, you're in a dress. Thankfully, I didn't have heels on. So, all right. So back to the notes. Life on life's terms has challenges, but it has victories also. And a lot of people can't enjoy the victories and keep going backward, and not growing forward. That's what's happening is they keep looking back when they get a victory instead of moving forward, saying, okay, I got this done. Check. Look what else I can do. They're like still afraid. But what if this happens? What if that happens? And I had to get rid of those what ifs also and the uncertainty. I'm glad you're here, Brenya. Well, at least you aren't in war or prison or anything, Leo Lee. Sounds like you need a good coach. I have one-on-ones. I can't help you in just one of these sessions, but I'm glad you keep coming back in. I hope that this helps, that you're able to hear something that helps. Roadman, I hated to hear how it would pass, work through it if it really did. I know. I hated when people used to tell me, Roadman, a reason, season, and a lifetime. I would be like wanting to put my middle finger up in the air and be like, that's what I think about the reason, season, lifetime, because I wanted what I wanted and I wanted it right now. And if it went away, a lot of times we chase that, right? And so, but I had to learn acceptance. And acceptance does come in the process, accept and trust in the process. Accepting comes in accepting there's a reason, season, and a lifetime for some things. Self-love is one of the hardest things to learn next to loving other people. Well, when we love ourselves, then we can, have a more genuine love. Because a lot of times, I know I used to try to love other people and I would want them to love me back the same way that I love them. But the problem was that I didn't love me. So that I was choosing people that I felt familiar with. And I didn't have a real good example of what love would look like. Sorry, Mom, but I have to tell my daughter that too. But I didn't have that example of what a healthy love would look like, And so I was chasing the same thing that I saw growing up and didn't realize it. So I had to learn to love myself, and I had to do that. I did it through therapy and coaching and stuff because I didn't know how. G's jaded wasted. Hi, Stacy. How you been? It's hot here. 100. Yes, I've heard about that heat wave over there. G's jaded wasted. We're talking about we're talking about self-love, and we're about to get to the breathing. We're getting closer to the breathing. So thank you. Oh, good night, Viola. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yes, I hope that Live Love Dreams is going to stay for the breathing. We're about to get to the breathing. Have a good night, Viola. Thank you. Passing through slowly. Hey, passing through slowly. Yeah, you're catching the second half out because I'll do a recap here at the end before we get into the breathing. Thank you. It's good to see you, Brenda. I'm actually struggling with self-love right now. Someone wants to take my group down because of my criminal history, and I now have to go back to court. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh, just keep fighting. Just keep fighting for what you want. You know, Roadman, get rid of everybody that doesn't do you right. You won't think right. Even family members, get rid of them. It's important. Yeah, you have to set boundaries. Set those loving boundaries. So my self-love is gone to crap. Well, I hope that what we say tonight will help you some, Brenda, because I'll do a recap here. I've gone through some of it. I'm finishing the last of the 4 things that I went through to talk about how we go from self-love to self-trust, and trusting ourselves. Angela, when you do things slowly, you feel less pressure and you aren't overwhelmed. That's right. You get to enjoy the process, right? Trust in that process and get to enjoy it and we realize that we're practicing and developing. And that in itself builds esteem. I didn't just start talking one day and be like, oh, I'm a great speaker. No. And I'm still working on my speaking. Wouldn't say I'm a great speaker now, but I'm comfortable with it, where when I first started, I didn't feel comfortable with it. Okay, Roadman. A narcissist is only happy when you give to them. The world ain't good enough. Yeah, I know the world ain't even good enough for a narcissist. There because they don't love themselves, but they don't know they don't. They have the false esteem. So, hello, Tony. So, must have been Mary. Yes, girl, it was Mary. She was crazy, crazy today. It's not going well. Flying Brian, Angela, like taking your time and smell the roses. Absolutely. That's what I love about walking is that I get to see things that I don't see when I'm, riding in the cars. I see a whole lot more when I'm walking or when I'm driving the car. She's jaded waste, as my mother would always tell me. But what if? And it really put me into an overcautious position my whole life. I totally understand that. My mom was really protective too. And yeah, and then they would pull the articles out, right, Mom? They would pull the articles out of these girls that got put in ditches or the girls that just disappeared, and they'd be like, see? So they were really protective. But we have to learn the what ifs different. I used to what if too when I entered therapy, and I'd be like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? And she's like, because that's catastrophizing in a word. And I'd be like, what if this happens? What if that happens? She'd say, Stacy, why don't you use your imagination for good things? And I told her, I don't have an imagination because I thought all those what ifs were reality, but the what ifs were my imagination. So what if I did imagine what I wanted to happen happening? And then we have to learn detachment, that it's not going to happen by instant gratification. See? Fine, Brian. Yes. Hey, Robbie. Brian, yeah. If you don't love and respect yourself, then how do you expect to love and respect others? Absolutely. It's so important because everything's a reflection and a projection. And so we're going to see what our fears are through other people, and we're going to see what our strengths are through other people if we choose. But a lot of us don't see our strengths. We're just so afraid of our fears that we're only looking for that. Brenda, it's something I told my father, except I said, if you don't respect and love me, why would I respect and love you? Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. That's so hard. Live, love, dreams. I like the direction of who I'm becoming, but thoughts of past life haunts randomly. Hypnosis. Yeah, I'm not good with hypnosis. I couldn't do it, but it was real like retraining my nervous system. Like I said, I hope that you will breathe with us this evening because Reiki was really what helped me live, love, and dreams. Reiki helped me a great deal to get back in my body because I wasn't connected to my body. And this is usually what affects us when we self sabotage. It's our body that gets affected when we're self sabotaging because we're too much in our mind, but we're not thinking about what we're doing to our body. And so the Reiki helped me because it was energy healing, was what it was, because I'm a drug addict. I haven't done drugs or alcohol in 29 years, but I don't take medicines. I don't like to put things in my body that aren't going to help be good for my body. So, so what I did was the Reiki, and it's like chakras, and I started getting a relationship with my neural pathways and my chakras. I even teach a course on that about how we can get in our bodies and minds and what all it's doing. I don't know if Kim's still here, but she took my course, and people don't realize that your body has all this stuff going off in it like a galaxy. You got all this stuff that's just like doing things in your body that according to your thoughts and your feelings. You're releasing hormones, you're releasing chemicals, you're releasing all kinds of things into your body. Flying Brian. Robbie, good to see you. Hope all is well, right? My pleasure, Virginia. I'm having a risk. Thank you, Robbie. Brenya. See, the Aussies are in the house. I knew by your description. Gotta love Mary. I know I do love Mary, but she was talking crazy to people. How often do you drink? I don't drink beer or alcohol. I do not. Nothing. I don't even eat candy with alcohol in it. So, hey, Pam, it's good to see you, darling. Thank you, Kim, for being on top of this. Yes, cheese jaded wasted. Stacy, is it possible to do 30-minute therapy with you? I would like you to coach me. I usually do an hour, at least an hour. But an hour would be, email me, it's in the description. Email me and we can talk about it, okay? I'll send you a Zoom link and we'll sit and have a chat and see what I can do. Okay, G's Jaded Wasted? Flying Brian. Pam, nice to see you. Hope all is well. Roadman. The best thing I ever did was go outside myself and start traveling solo. Over time, it's what did it. Meeting strangers with the same problems. Yes, it does help to meet people. To know your strengths, you must know your weaknesses. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Live, love, dreams. I know when people ask me my strengths is that I can connect with people. I'm very cooperative and things like this, but technology is my weakness. I'll be happy I'd tell anybody, technology is my weakness. Flying Brian, rule your mind or it will rule you. Absolutely, absolutely it will. That's right. Is I had to learn to rule my mind. Had to learn I do have an imagination. Had to learn that I did need to use it in a different way to start perceiving other things rather than the catastrophes. Robbie Mellon, I'm doing good. Okay, he's talking to Brenya. Take it easy, Brun. Yes. Flying Brian. I know, Australia. Robbie. Okay, Brenya. Angela, narcissistic parents want to make all the decisions for you. That's another reason why you don't trust yourself. Yes, they don't give you confidence. You can't gain confidence if you can't make decisions for yourself. You know, to be trusted with that. I loved when I had my kids because I didn't know what to do. And so this love and logic helped to teach them how to have choices and cause and effect consequences rather than just getting your butt busted. Our parents didn't know any better, but that did teach how you're in charge of your choices and how you can be empowered by your choices or how you can learn from your choices. Kim and Pam. So, live, love, dreams. Research anti-psych meds. I relapsed after second dose of Prozac, which controlled my moods and took will away. That was 2006. Yeah, I tried Reiki, live, love, dreams. If you ever hear, now that you've heard it, I talk about sometimes, how that car about our consciousness and our, and everything. And so sometimes when people want to buy a car, they don't see a car like it. They're like, I want this car. Then after they get the car, they see all these millions of cars like it. So that's like how we go towards our dreams and goals and visions is that we start imagining it and wanting it, and then we're going to start seeing things, that come in alignment with it, but we have to stay focused on that way and not on what we don't want. So, yeah. I'm also feeling a little crap because I broke my clean streak with alcohol a few days ago. That's what I was talking about earlier, is like if we go and binge or something, it defeats our self-esteem. That will definitely defeat your self-esteem and your self-love because we feel sluggish after, out of sorts. So I'm glad that you're back, though. Dreams are just your brain entertaining itself while you're unconscious. Could be. I had a couple of dreams a few nights, and one of them I got to see my son. Y'all know I lost my son, and one of them I got to see my son. So I woke up really happy that morning. And the other one, they weren't bad dreams. Oh, the other one was about Johnny Depp because I started watching John Marie, that movie, and then I had a call, and then I got off the call and just forgot about it. And then Johnny Depp showed up in a dream. So there you go. So I always tell my friends and clients, what are you watching before you go to bed? I tell Mama, turn that TV off, because here's the thing is that also can control your nervous system. If you're watching things that are like violent and things where there's a lot of noise and this kind of thing, when you go to bed, you're not going to get as good of a rest as you would if you are, being mindful. I try not to have anything on when I go to bed, but if I do have something on, it's going to be something that I want to subliminally feed in my brain, because our brain is processing all the time. Even when we're asleep, it's doing what it does. Geez, Jada Waste is whatever you charge an hour is absolutely worth it. Thank you so much, Geez, Jaded Wasted. Yeah, email me and then we can see about getting some coaching with you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Geez, Jaded Wasted. Are you leaving us for today? Email me and I look forward to getting to connect with you, okay? All right. Thank you so much. Angela, nobody can think for you, feel for you, or live for you. You need to trust yourself. Absolutely. That's so true. So many people trying to navigate life about what other people want for them instead of realizing, what do I want? And then everything's going to line up. But it's about trusting, right? A lot of people have problems with trust. Flying Brian, sometimes the side effects outweigh the benefits with those drugs depending on the person. I don't do any drugs, alcohol, nothing. I won't even, moving down here, ayahuasca is the big thing. And, you think about it, because people were telling me they were going to the moon on this ayahuasca. And I thought, I like the moon. Then I thought, Stacy, you hadn't done ayahuasca. You didn't need ayahuasca the rest of your life. You don't need to start trying any ayahuasca now. So if I like ayahuasca, I will be doing too much ayahuasca. But I hear that it makes you throw up and things. Why females love, he's a bad boy. Mom says we're going to celebrate your son's birthday on the 17th. I'm going to celebrate his birthday too, but it will be right here where I am. Females love Johnny Depp, but he doesn't, I don't know. He's handsome, but he's also talented. He's a painter, an artist. He's also a musician. He's multi-versatile. Geez, Jada Wasted. I'm sorry. I'll have to end it up here. Tonight is 1:30 a.m. You got to go to work. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, darling. I'm glad that you got to be on here tonight, and email me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. I'll be back on Sunday, and it'll be much earlier. I come on Sunday at 9 a.m. my time, so that's going to be like, I think 5 or 6 your time. I don't know if John London's still here. He's might have fallen asleep. He's over there too. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, Geez, Jaded Wasted. Thank you. Flying Brian. Stacy, I was talking about, oh, the psychological drugs. Yeah. I haven't tried those either. Roadman. I need to get a passport too. I was going to go to the Keys. My best friend has a house. The cruise line wants me to go do 6 weeks there. Maybe. Yeah, yeah. Let me know when you come to Mexico. Most people go to Cozumel, and I don't go to Cozumel so much when people come over here, but sometimes I'll go over to Cozumel. Let me know when you're coming on your journey. That's cool that you had those dreams. I know it was cool that I got to have those dreams. Last night I didn't have any dreams. Oh, the anti-anxiety and etc. Yeah. And sometimes anxiety is our nervous system running running amok with us too, because we're just running on that anticipation and strategizing all the time, and it can make us anxious if we feel like we're not catching up, right? Brenya. I'm glad you're back, Brenya. Thank you, Daryl. Flying Brian. I've never tried, but I have a sister who deals with mental health issues. Yes. Yes. JR, lifestyles of the rich and famous. Well, we'll see. All right, I'm about to recap this. Let me see what I was writing down. So when we're looking at these evidence, we're talking about evidence right now of growing, going backward or growing forward. Do we want to go backward or grow forward? So while it sounds crazy of, people growing past the challenges, or trying to, while that sounds, admit if it's you that there was a lot of self-sabotage comes in when we keep going backwards. When we keep going backwards, we self-sabotage. Again, when we hope for the best and expect the worst, even when given the best, people are sometimes waiting to exhale, still fearing something is going to happen, and continue to focus evidence in the negative for safety. Isn't that crazy? That familiar is sometimes feels safe. So gather different evidence in the present. Change doesn't happen overnight, but each little thing we do and the evidence we gather of where we are growing moves us forward and takes the same amount of energy, just a different focus. See? Focus on where we want to grow. Oh, good. I'm glad you have a good chance of winning, Branya. King of Suburbia. No, he's not. So as we close today, I'd like to reflect on something. Self-trust isn't built by one big decision. It's built by all the little choices we make every day. It's built when we keep the promises that we make to ourselves. It's built when we do the next right thing when nobody's watching. It's built when we stay loyal to our integrity instead of our fears. Okay. It's built when we honor our feelings instead of dismissing them or believing everyone else's feelings are more important than ours. Sometimes we wonder why we don't trust ourselves, yet, if we're honest, we've broken promises to ourselves. We've wanted one thing but chosen another. We've talked ourselves out of what we truly wanted because fear felt more familiar. I'm sorry your dad died of coronavirus, King of Suburbia. Hi, Layla. So there's no shame in recognizing that the fear is just more familiar. Awareness is where the healing begins. So every loving choice we make becomes evidence. Evidence that we can trust ourselves, evidence that we can continue to grow, evidence that we're stronger than we thought we were. So, and I encourage my clients, I encourage my friends to have Wednesdays. We are so quick to remember our mistakes, our disappointments, and the times we fell short. Yet we often, at a lot of the times, we got back up again. Well, email me, King of Suburbia. We forget the courage that it took to keep going. We forget the challenges we've already overcome. The past evidence is what you've been through, but it's also evidence that you've made it this far, okay? So we don't continue bringing up the past to keep reinforcing pain. We only bring it up to heal. Once we've learned what we needed to learn, it's time to begin gathering different evidence. So notice the moments you kept your word. Notice the moments you paused instead of reacted. Notice the moments you've honored your health. Notice the moments you set a healthy boundary. Notice those things. Healthy boundaries aren't making ultimatums and talking crazy to people and cutting people off. Notice the moments you choose peace over chaos, love over fear, and integrity over people pleasing. Those moments matter. Each one builds you up. So these are building something within you. Every day can be Monday. You know, my client, when he fell off of the food, when he fell off of his diet, he learned that every day could be Monday. When people always say, I'm going to start Monday, well, just because you fell off one day, the next day can be Monday. You don't have to keep sabotaging, okay? Every day is another opportunity to begin again. You don't have to wait until the next week, the next month, or January 1st. You don't. You can begin with your very next choice. As we practice these choices, we begin to realize something beautiful. We're not trying to become someone else. We're uncovering and realizing the gifts that are already ours. We're learning our value. So fear may have hidden them. Pain may have buried them, but they're still there. And every loving choice we make uncovers a little bit more of who you are and who you've always been. So on Sunday, y'all, I come on here at 9 a.m. in the morning and for story time with Stacy. And on Sunday, we'll be bringing this series together as we talk about self-esteem and seeing ourselves with truth instead of fear. So we'll look at how self-love, self-trust, and self-esteem are all connected, and how healing allows us to see ourselves more truthfully, not through the lens of fear, shame, comparison, or old wounds, but through the wisdom we've gained in the life we've lived. Until then, I hope y'all remember this. You don't build yourself up by being perfect. You build yourself up by being honest, by showing up, by doing the next right thing, by staying loyal to your integrity, and by gathering evidence that you are, in fact, growing. So before we leave today, I want y'all to take a few minutes to think about what you want, breathing in. What is it that you want? What's that one thing that you can do? Blind Brian, Stacy, thanks for sharing your time and experiences thoroughly through the lives. Take care out there and be safe. You too, Flying Brian. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. We're about to breathe, y'all. We are about to breathe. Branya, don't let that make you believe you'd forget your father. You'll never forget him. No, love never dies. Even though the people in our life may pass, love never dies. Thank you so much, Flying Brian, King of Suburbia. Branya, so then you can listen to his voice, see his face. Yes. Your dad was very old. JR. You are very welcome, JR. Thank you. I hope that somebody's going to be here to breathe with me. It looks like some of y'all are still. Bye, Flying Brian. You be kind to yourself too. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Infinity and beyond. Thank you so much, Infinity and beyond. Live, love, dreams. Hold on. We're about to breathe, darlings. We're about to breathe. So thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Branya. I'm glad you're still here. Roadman, King of Siberia. Okay, y'all, we are about to breathe. What we do is we're going to breathe all the way in. This is how we get to, okay, Mama, we're about to breathe, darling. We breathe all the way in. Take that breath in. Fill up your tummy. Your shoulders will rise. Your heart will open. Your head will rise. Let the air go through fully into your tummy. Breathe it in. And we're going to hold it, if you can, for 4 counts. But just do your best. That's enough. That's good enough, is to do your best. We're going to hold it. I want you to hold in mind what a word or something that you want, a way you want to feel, and hold that for 4 seconds, what you want to do. And then release gently and slowly any fears and doubts or any tension that's in your body, because it isn't going to be instant gratification when you're working towards these goals and learning to trust yourself. It's these one little things. So just think of that one little thing when we breathe in. Roadman, I always wanted to learn that breathing stuff. We're about to do it, Roadman. We're about to do it. We only do 5 of these. I encourage you, when you start feeling anxious, when you start feeling defeated, when you start telling yourself negative things, to breathe in and get in your right mind, because your brain loves oxygen. and it helps you to regulate your body, your obviously your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system, but also your digestive system. It helps you to not be sickly, when we think, because we produce these acids in our bodies when we're thinking toxic things or we're experiencing toxic things, like the narcissist, as was brought up earlier. So, being able to breathe into your body to regenerate your cells and to regulate your system. Okay? So we're going to do 5 of them. Here we grow. Here we grow. Pam, are you here? You are very welcome, darling. Brunya, King of Suburbia. Okay. Well, we're going to breathe. Even kings breathe. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Grinch, you going to breathe with us? Come on, Grinch. 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 No, Grinch only likes tapping. Grinch will come out when I start talking about tapping sometimes. We're going to breathe. What if I talk about tapping? You're going to come out and tap? Don't look like Grinch is going to come out. All right, so let's breathe. We're going to take that deep breath in, fill up your tummy, shoulders rise, hold it 4 counts. What's that one thing that you can do that will make you feel better? And then release gently and slowly. Here we grow. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. Release. Just 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. All right. I want to thank you all so much for being here this evening. I hope that you enjoyed that breathing. I hope that Live, Love, Dreams got to enjoy that breathing, that sometimes we just need to slow down, and enjoy life. Okay? So I hope that this has been helpful tonight. And I thank you all so much. Thank you, Kim, for moderating. I appreciate you. And thank you all for being here this evening. I hope you're going to have an amazing evening. Thank you, darling. Thank you, JR. And I look forward to seeing y'all Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time for Story Time with Stacy. You did get to breathe. How do you feel, Live, Love, Dreams? Thank you for those hearts. Did that feel good? And Roadman, did you enjoy the breathing? All right. Well, I hope that it was helpful. Thank y'all so much. All right. Grinch and I'll go night-night. Okay, beautiful mama. I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. Love y'all. Good. Good. I'm glad. Thank you so much. Thank you all who've subscribed to this channel. If you'd like one-on-one coaching, my email is in the description. All righty. Thank you. I appreciate you. Good night.